Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with the True North Vision podcast. I've got my brand new co-host, Brian Rogers, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the apple in my eye, for lack of better words. But if there was anybody I wanted where it's going to be on a regular basis, my co-host, that guy that has always got my back, and we've seen that quite a few times, especially here in the last week, how much you've had my back. But Brian, introduce yourself to the world, and glad you're here, dude.
Thanks, Jimmy. A little bit about myself. We're business partners.
Yeah.
Got a couple of those businesses trying to work out.
Just a few.
After high school, joined the Marine Corps. It's anti-tank assault guided missileman, tow gunner. Did one tour, 2007, 2008 to Iraq, and came back, did a little law enforcement work. And
you're going to be my color guy? Is that how it works? You got to take out the pause, brother.
SWAT guy, sniper guy. So now I'm just an entrepreneur.
You know the best part? You being sniper, that comes out of you in so many ways, dude. You're patient. You're calculated. I could tell you take those minutes to gauge the wind and find out who's going to come into your sight picture. And then throw a few rounds down range.
Yeah, and it really helps out when I got to watch your back.
We know. And with this, it's also a great opportunity to introduce Guy. Guy, we've been, getting to know you over the last couple of weeks or so. You've got a pretty amazing story, which is a great reason why I've got Brian here, who's going to talk about it as well and everything that you come from. It kind of rose out of the ashes. And if there's any episode I want people to listen to that want to help people, that want to help veterans, that want to help homeless veterans, because you've been in that boat for, 10 years now?
Yeah, over 10 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. So, Guy, let's introduce you to the world. We're going to have people share this everywhere so homeless veterans know that there is help out there and there's a chance to be a better version of yourself. And right now we're seeing that in you guys. So talk to us, man.
My name is Baird, and I went in the military in 1976.
Back in the day.
It's probably before most of you guys were born in this room. I got out in 1980. I was trained as a combat medic. Vietnam ended in 75, so I was just right past the Vietnam era. And my first tour of duty, I went to Korea, so most of the cats over there were out of Nam. They were sending them to Korea because it was kind of a party place, actually. Korea was pretty laid back in the day. And I did a year over there. I married a Korean girl, actually, and I came back to the States. And then I did one more tour in Korea before I did 4 years active duty. So I got 2 years boots on the ground in Korea. Some really small camps, some 60 guys. 100-guy camps, way out in the boonies, rice paddy, mountain areas, and then I got out, and I was married for 20 years, and then after my divorce, I kind of started messing up, and I had some trouble with drugs, and that caused me, my bad choices caused me to become homeless, and so I became a homeless veteran, and I suffered from chronic homelessness for years and drug addiction, and I went to prison more than once over it for trafficking, cocaine, stuff like that. And somehow, I turned my life over to Jesus Christ, and I came up out of it, and I decided that I have something to offer to other homeless people and homeless veterans in particular, because I was a homeless veteran, and I understood about homeless veterans. There's a lot of trouble with this homeless veterans situation with the VA and with our government and how they're taking care of homeless veterans. So, I got kind of a lot of experience in that I was been through that system a lot of times, and so I thought that I could try to help others to understand how to navigate that system, and I could share my experiences and hopes and my faith, and try to actually, I became an advocate, a veterans advocate, and I try to identify homeless veterans, and then I offer to escort them to the VA, and I try to understand, what kind of services they offer in whatever area I'm in. And the veteran, what I experienced being a homeless veteran and a drug addict was that the VA kind of stigmatized us that we're not really the favorite children of the VA. So, they sometimes, homeless veterans, drug addicts, they don't look good. They don't talk good. They might smell. They're homeless. They're drug addicts. They might have mental health issues. They might PTSD, whatever it is. So they don't really handle themselves well when they go in for services in the VA. Sometimes doesn't treat them as well as they could. So sometimes it's good to have another guy with you when you go up there, just to kind of, give them a little support, a little application.
Have that buddy system.
A buddy system. That's what we learned in the military. We're buddies. We work as a team. That's what you guys are about. From what I see here, I've only been here a couple of weeks, but you guys teach teamwork, buddy system stuff, and that, we can succeed if we operate as a team, just like in the military. So, I've had people advocate on my behalf, and I actually asked Jimmy to be an advocate for me in this area because, I've been stigmatized by the VA in the past, and I don't know if I want to go there by myself. I'd rather have somebody with me.
Sure, and with that, we've got one of our sponsors, Compass Quest, Ted Donaldson. He's working, and Amy.
They're huge.
Ted's been working a lot, real close with the new VA facility here in Joplin. He's even put together an awesome Friday morning coffee. Just veterans can go there and drink coffee together and get familiarized with the facility and with other veterans.
Cool.
And he's a great resource in our area. He knows everyone in the VA facility, and he's out there helping anyone he can.
So he's an advocate. He's a veterans advocate.
Yeah, if it's one thing that I've noticed with the Joplin area guy, and you happen to land in a great spot, when you reached out to us on Brotherhood of Warriors, you saw what we were doing over there, and you reached out, and first thing I did is start to do what we call blue topping. And blue topping, just kind of trying to find out as much information as we can on the subject or the individual or the business or whatever the case may be. And with you, I went to your Facebook page, and one thing that was really appealing to me was the fact that you have this ability to work with what you're given. Not only that, you take what you're given, and you also want to share that with everybody else. You've got yourself that cool army-colored OD green school bus that you turned into a house, and I've had an opportunity to get into it, and for you realize that, and I saw right away that you identified your skill set. You're very good at woodworking. You're good at your welding and all that stuff. And out here with Brotherhood of Warriors, True North, everything we have with our team and all the veterans we have, I said, come on out, man. Let's see what you got. And now that you've been out here a couple of weeks, you've had that opportunity to see that. And like I always go back to is the fact that seeing you and knowing where you've come from, to see that you've been able to rise above addiction, that you've been able to rise above your homelessness and realize that you still have a lot to offer. And I think all it really takes is for people to be like, man, you got something. Now let's see how we can make it better. Let's see what we can do to push it out to the world, which is why I wanted you to be a guest on here with Brian and I, because I feel like you are a lighthouse just as much as any advocacy group that you're looking for, and you found that through other veterans, and you found that through your own hope and wanting to make the world a better place. And knowing that, I want to be able to push that out to the world that says, hey, Guy, even in his situation, can make a real impact. And part of that and part of what we do is making you realize that, because we all have those days where it's difficult. The conversations we had, I could tell where you kind of almost second guess yourself, like, am I ready to have this conversation or talk about certain things? But you've got a lot to offer. And to me and to Brian and to everyone that's out here, we value that and see that. And I think talking about what you said with the VA, it's tough. I feel like the VA, it has got so many people that it is kind of a numbers thing. So us as veterans, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to reach out and start different organizations and groups and reach out to companies and individuals and say...
Exactly, because the VA, on one hand, I'm not here to, or I don't want to bash the VA or say this. I know they got a tough mission that they're working in, and it's a big thing to have that much power and that much. They're trying to take care of veterans, and veterans are complicated. We're not simple people.
Well, I know Brian's got that talk. I know you wanted to talk about veterans and addiction and all that stuff. What do we do, man? What do we do?
Yeah, well, on the VA side, the VA's got a bad rap in the past, and with our current government administration, seems like things are getting a lot better. They're fixing a lot of the problems. I've had nothing but luck. My first visit to the VA was in 2008 when I got back from overseas. After that, I've had nothing but good things from the VA. And, I went in, the first thing they check on is your mental health, even for the regular doctor's appointment. I ended up in the mental health side of the house, and I did a run of counseling for a year after I got back from overseas. And that's really where I realized that I think a lot of veterans have pride issues. They don't want to admit or think that they need help so much. And I'll tell you, counseling it's a harmless thing. Nothing's happening to you. You're talking to someone, but they know how the brain works better than we do.
Yeah.
And they really do help a lot. So I'm definitely a big advocate of attending counseling for any type of issues. And it's available everywhere now. The VA has new mobile centers now that are traveling around. So there's a big push getting new services out to the veterans. And I think that they're really turning around some of the problems they've had in the past. On the addiction side, you had an addiction issue, and it seems like there's a common addiction issue among veterans. When I came back from overseas, I really had that. You're on that adrenaline all the time, and when you get back and that runs out, and you're not under that stress all the time and that adrenaline pump, you start looking for whatever you can to get that fix, right?
Same was with me when I came back from Korea, and I didn't serve in any war zone or anything, but Korea in the 70s is a little different than it was now. And so
a lot of things in the 70s are different than it is
right
now.
So when I came back, I had that same adrenaline feeling that I didn't know what to do with it. And I remember getting when I got out, I went through California, and I out processed, and I came home. I couldn't sleep for like 4 days. I was just so revved up. And I made everybody nervous, my family, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, I just came back to the world, I don't know how to act. I don't know. I'm trying to have a McDonald's hamburger I ain't had in a year, and it was a different experience that you had to kind of work through, and
sure. And I think a big part of that, what you don't realize at first, is that you just lost family. So when you leave that military family, that impacts you greatly.
They were the closest guys I ever knew in my life. Mm-hmm. The guys I was with in Korea for that year, they were my true brothers that I never had in my life.
And Brian absolutely nails that. And you recognizing that, and that's one of the biggest things. We have that out. That's why True North and what we have with Brotherhood is so important. We've worked with a lot of veteran programs, and the VA is great. But what we have here, where you felt that welcome again, when you're like, man, you guys are awesome. It's just because we're veterans.
I really feel that here, and I want to tell you guys that I came here and I was really impressed about the way you guys were handling this thing, and then you guys threw me down in this little gunning and running show that you do. And Jimmy quarterbacked it. We were in here and we had a meeting, and he kind of quarterbacked the whole thing. And then we did a walkthrough. Next thing you know, things have been moving really fast here, but everybody's been, behind me all the way. Everybody has been very cordial and very my brothers. I feel brotherhood here, And
It's not exactly 1978 Korea, but
no. And, you guys, I didn't serve in the era that you did, and I didn't go to Iraq and wherever you guys served or whatever that is in the Middle East service, But I'm really I'm proud that you guys accepted me, that you let me come out here and be part of your group, and I feel sometimes that I'm not even worthy.
See, and that's never the case for us. We get people. We've trained over 600 people out here in leadership training and all that stuff. And our idea, when we do the leadership training, we do the team building. We're not looking to make 1,000 Brians. We're not looking to make 1,000 Jimmys.
It would be nice.
Oh my gosh, devastating! What it is we're looking to make 1,000 people that are better versions of themselves. And the fact that you're a veteran, the fact that you signed the dotted line, the fact that now that you're out and are empowering yourself to want to help other people is motivating to us too. We learn just as much from you as you do from us. We gain just as much as that brotherhood from you as you do from us. And that's one thing that we want you to definitely understand, and what we want other veterans to understand and people that come out here, that we want that family. We know as veterans, we've identified it. We thought, we said, this is what changes lives, and there's a great program in Joplin now with the Ozark Center, which is VIP, which is the Veteran Integration Program. And they're another one that is really making those steps. And I think they kind of fear that stigma with veterans of wanting to come into a facility. But those guys that are over there, they're veterans as well, and they understand that. So we work really closely with them with bringing guys out here, us looking to send guys that way.
I was blown away when I heard about you guys on some news show or something. I can't even remember. And I'm like, Brotherhood of Veterans in the show? Really? Because you guys weren't here a couple years ago when I was here about 3-4 years ago, and I never heard of you guys.
I know, a little over 2 years now, and we're just taking it all by storm.
I was living in Christian recovery houses, and I was coming up and trying to help other people and finding my true self, my real self, not that drug addiction guy, and I had my thumb on the pulse of homeless people and veterans issues and stuff, and I said, man, Brotherhood of Veterans? Really?
Brotherhood of Warriors.
Brotherhood of Warriors, and I'm sorry. And
that's right, you got veterans on your brain.
I was looking at it, and I said, man, I sent you a message, and I said, dude, I'm living in a bus here that I created to help veterans. It's called the Homeless Veterans Patriot Bus, and maybe I need somewhere to go and plug in and be more connected with the veteran population, and you said come out and meet us Saturday. We'll talk, and next thing you know, he said pull your bus in, man. You're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a reason that you ended up out here, and it's been happening. Veterans keep coming out to us because they hear the word and they come out here and find family real quick. Right. And one of our big deals is we know that family, so we're trying to, through our leadership training, teach companies to have that same bond that we have together in the military work.
We have a greater bond than any other group that I really have ever associated with the veterans.
And we'll definitely, we're going to hack on that more. And I'll tell you, there's many more organizations, and with the businesses and everything we have, we work closely with another business down in Springfield, Tommy Hawks. And we're going to hear from Tommy Hawks here real quick. And after we hear from Tommy Hawks, we're going to come back and we're going to talk more on where we're going from here and how we're going to take it to that next level. And I know you're taking us down tomorrow into Joplin to go meet some of your counterparts and everything you got down there, and we'll kind of explore that a little bit, and we'll be right back after we hear from Tommy Hawks.
Okay.
Tommy Hawk's Axe House, the biggest axe throwing venue in the Midwest, right here in Springfield. Indoor axe throwing, shuffleboard, cornhole, and more. We are a BYOB establishment. Make your reservation online at www.tommyhawks.net.
And we're back with the True North Vision podcast over here after hearing from Tommy Hawks. One thing that's awesome is Tommy himself is coming back here in the next couple of weeks. That's great news. They're doing awesome things down in Springfield, throwing tomahawks and helping veterans along the way. And We can't thank them enough for everything that they've done for us, and what Tommy's still doing to serve this country is a big deal. You know, that's somebody that's already been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and now he's still doing it while running a business, while having a good wife. You know, they're busy. It's pretty awesome, and we've got our guest Guy out here with us. Guy, the homeless veteran living out of his school bus, his BA school bus, because it is pretty awesome in there. And I wanted to thank you for being out here. And Brian, as always, man, you know, I love your company. I mean, you're about as ugly as they come, but you're doing something
Thanks,
right.
Jimmy.
You're doing something right, you know?
Yeah.
Go for it, man. What do you got?
Now, do you consider yourself homeless still?
Technically, I'm homeless. I mean, you know,
I'd just say mobile.
the government considers me homeless because of the facilities I got. I got a dry toilet. It's not flushable. You know, it's a different situation. I'm fine with it, but technically, I can claim to be officially, federally considered a homeless veteran.
Sure. No permanent place of residency.
Right, it's the facility. See, you can have a motorhome and you won't be a homeless veteran if you have a working shower and a water toilet. But if you, in my case, my shower is not running right now, but it can work if I want to make it work. But my toilet is a dry toilet, so they right there nixes me out of being considered having a not being homeless.
Right, which is good. And one thing I wanted to point out with that is the fact that you taking the resources that you do have and making something out of it. And with Brotherhood of Warriors and what we got, if there's anybody that's out there listening to us right now, have this conversation that wants to help out, that wants to help guys like Guy, that wants to help out Brotherhood of Warriors and True North and other veterans, they can find us right at tneleader.com, because we got a good link to Brotherhood of Warriors stuff on there to be able to help out. I mean, because it's not easy. You know, I know talking to you, you're always looking for backpacks and food and licky chewies that you can hand out to other homeless people, which is a huge thing, which is what we're looking to help out with. And I know tomorrow we're going to go down there and go hang out with some of the homeless of Joplin.
I call it lunch on Guy. I'm going to take them down and I'm going to show them the different places where the homeless people go, and they feed them lunch and they have services for them. And there's also some recovery houses and where homeless people go and they try to get off the street and recover from whatever it is they're trying to recover from. And it's an eye opener when you see, you know, the amount of homeless people just in this small little town, Joplin, and all the different resources and the people that are pulling together and trying to make a difference. And it's impressive. It really is impressive.
It is a tough world out there, and it is so refreshing to hear other organizations and other people that, you know, lead with their heart and want to help people. And I think the biggest thing is people got to want to help themselves. And I think you're a great example of that. You know,
you got to be willing to walk out of your comfort zone. See, where I go, I call myself boots on the ground, and I was associated with the organization called VOP, Veterans on Patrol, and we call ourselves boots on the ground. We don't wait for them to come in and look for us. We go out and seek out and find homeless camps, homeless people, and then we try to identify homeless veterans, and then we act on their behalf, and we offer rides and whatever we can do. And I hand out backpacks like he was talking about, and I put some little bit of food in there, some hygiene, socks is a big thing. Good used socks. I can't hand out enough socks. We just had rain for the last couple of days. They're all wearing I put trash bags, like leaf-size big trash bags. Mm-hmm. They're wearing them for raincoats. They're walking all around town with my bags that I handed out.
You know, and I know people have got stuff in their closet like umbrellas and jackets and stuff like that. It's like, why can't we get, you know, some kind of, you know, organization with that? And I think that's what we're doing with Brotherhood of Warriors, is we want to be able to do that.
It's called soft donations, not really hard donations. Hard donations is cash. Soft donations is what you got around the house that you're not using anymore, and it's sitting in your closet for 5 years, and you don't even look at it anymore. And there's people that if you give it to me or us, I can find a good home for it.
Yeah, you know, and it's, Brian and I have had hundreds of conversations, whether it be sitting around the fire or, you know, just out here and talking about it. And it might sound almost a little a little harsh, but I know Brian and I both share that same feeling that when we're driving down the road and we see guys that are holding up the, veteran signs that said, "Hey, I'm a homeless veteran or whatever, need help." I think you're kind of turning that on its head, and we want to turn that on its head because we know it upsets us. It upsets us that, the veterans haven't been being taken care of. And a lot of that is you have to be willing to do that stuff yourself. And standing out there on the corner like that, it upsets me because they can find stuff to do. I firmly believe that. You're a great example of that, and we're an example of that ability to do that, to want to help people, to find them, to lift them up and do that. And I think other veterans, that veteran policing each other, saying, "Hey, do something."
We're the best asset for veterans or other veterans. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous. The best people to help alcoholics or other alcoholics. That's how they learn to overcome through those types of programs. So my idea, my direction is that veterans are the best ones to help veterans. That's why the VA is they're hiring veterans. The last couple of years, they turned to hiring veterans to work in the VA. And I think that's probably making a big difference. The way the VA operates, too, is because they understand they're veterans and they've been there and they have an understanding of it. And so I'm on my name's Guy Baird. And if you go to my Facebook, I'm on Facebook, and you can see my bus. And it has a whole construction of it. And I had some service-connected injuries. And for 1 year, I had a knee replacement. They had to give me 100% disability. So I used that money for that whole year to buy my bus, to create it. I bought some tools. I fixed my truck up, and I didn't squander a dime of it. And I used it all as a future resource because I knew my money was going to drop back down. Now, I get 40% disability. I get $617 a month. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, and, I'm going to throw Jesus Christ in on this one. He was a homeless cat walking around, and he helped many people. See, you don't have to have a lot to help people. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be some rich or have a business or an organization or millionaires and stuff. Just everyday people like us, even poor people, we can go out and we can share. God gives us some stuff, and he just wants to see, are you willing to share some of it? Mm-hmm. And that's the way I look at it. If you're willing to share some of it, God will give you more to share. And that's what I've come to understand, that the more I share, the more he gives me to share. And so that's...
Put you out here.
He put me out here. You know what? I've been here 2 weeks, and they have a little building up here, welding equipment. I welded for about 20, 30 years. I'm a certified welder. I got Navy certifications. I'm a little old now, but I bought welding equipment. I got, with that $3,000. I set myself up with some welding equipment. They have a little shop here that's got welding equipment, but it wasn't really working right. They didn't really know, how to use it right. And here I show up, and they need some welding work, and I showed up, and I'm a welder, and, it's more than coincidence.
Absolutely.
That's more than coincidence.
Exactly what you were saying, dude. How this True North, everything we have, how it's all worked out for us, like it still blows my mind hearing him say that and what you were talking about.
Well, one of the things that you hit on and what you hit on when we see veterans, flying their flag, the homeless veteran, panhandling, mm-hmm. That it bugs us, I think, so much because we're so involved in the veteran community and the help organizations, and we know how much help is out there. And you can't always stop on every corner and go talk to these guys. We know there's so much, and if they're truly a veteran and they need help, there's plenty of help in our area.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, that's bugged me for a long time. Mm-hmm. Ever since I met you, we've discussed it. And, go right along with that coincidence, you got a guy here who is now tapped into that whole community.
Yeah.
So, you'll be able to assist us in helping these guys, getting them going in the right direction, get that aid that they need, all the organizations that are out here to help them. We don't have that ability.
Right.
But you have their trust already.
I'm a middle guy. I'm a middleman, and I'm just trying to coordinate what there is to offer and to try to educate the homeless veterans. But at the same time, I want to educate other people that you can get involved in this with the veterans. So people just they don't understand, what they could do. It's kind of like a partnership with the community, and I'm trying to create partnerships.
Yep.
And you can do a lot. You don't have to be a veteran to help veterans, or you don't have to be whatever to help homeless people. Anybody can help these people. And if you would just be a little creative and look at what you got in your house that you're not using, and think about T-shirts, socks, stuff that you don't even wear anymore. These guys they're drooling over socks.
Hey, Guy, tell us a little bit about what you actually do to help veterans.
Well, in this area, actually, this is I got to give the VA their props in this area. The homeless veteran population is almost nil, and they have the VA offers what you call HUD VASH. They got these coupons they get from the government, and they put you into housing, and they pay for the deposits, and they set you all up. And say in my case, I qualify for that. I can go down and get on HUD VASH. I get $620 a month. They would take a third of it. Mm-hmm. So they would take $205, and they would pay the rest of the bills. And it's actually, there's no end to the HUD VASH program. You can stay on there now. What their hope is that you'll, in my case, I'm a disabled veteran, so I might have a hard time going back to work in the shipyards and all, but there's other programs for me. But they're hoping that you'll get back up on your feet, go out and find some work, and that this is a way to help you up out of homelessness. And I was in the Fayetteville area before I came here. They don't have any coupons. Mm-hmm. I went there, and they have other things. There's a grant called the SSVF grant. It's the Service Something and Veterans Families, and it's a grant, and it's run by the Catholic Charities, has control of that grant. It's a federal government grant. They'll help you, that's for veterans and their families, and they'll get you up off the street, pay your deposits, hook up all your utilities. They only last for 3 to 6 months. Then the idea from there is that HUD VASH you can transition to HUD VASH, mm-hmm. and they'll pick you up after that. So, people aren't aware of this. It's just, it's a matter of a little bit of education. I bet you guys didn't know about the SSVF grants.
Nope.
Right? And that's an easy grant to get. That's an easy one to get on I can go get that right now in a snap of a finger. I like living in my bus because it keeps me closer to the pulse of what I'm trying to do. It's a challenge to live in the way I do. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge. It really is. This past winter, I lived in Walmart parking lots. I was helping homeless people. I didn't have no electric. I have a wood-burning stove. I was burning wood and battery lights, living in Walmart parking lots, helping homeless people. And you know what? God provided a way for me to do it. Yep. And it was a challenge, and I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to be, I wanted to feel close to the community that I came from, and that's why I created the bus. I'm down a little closer to the group that I'm trying to work with, and they trust, like you said, they trust me. They understand, they believe me, and they see what I'm doing and how I'm living, and they go, you know what, he's one of us.
That's awesome. What were you going to say, Brian? I felt like you were coming in with some Brian wisdom.
Not wisdom as much. Now, tell me about the backpacks and stuff that you're putting together for these guys.
What I do is I try to get people to give me backpacks, or if I see them at garage sales for $1 or 50 cents, I'll buy every one of them. I don't care if I only got $5. I'll buy backpacks up like crazy. Then I call it the twos. I put 2 trash bags, 2 pairs of socks. I put 2 bottled waters. I try to put 2 T-shirts. The girls there's a lot of homeless girls. And this isn't just for veterans; it's for all homeless people, and a little bit of food and some hygiene. So I'm really getting people they're giving me. I call them soft donations. People give me this stuff, and if you give this stuff to me, I will find a great home for it. And like the last couple of days, we had all this rain. All these guys, the homeless people, they're up under pavilions like at Murphy Park, or I don't know what you call that park. They all got their shoes off and their socks hanging up, and their feet are all swollen up because they've been in wet for days, and it's such a miserable thing to go through. So I've been handing out socks like crazy. Socks is a big is a real big one, you know, and we take it for granted that we can just go to the house and take your socks off, and if your feet get wet, it's no big deal. They can't, bro. They ain't got nowhere to do that. And after about 12 hours of wet feet, you guys know what happens.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
get all waterlogged.
They get all waterlogged. They start blistering. The skin starts coming loose. Now, what are you going to do? It's rains for 3 days, and your feet are wet for 3 days. And now you're on foot. You're homeless. If you want to go do whatever you're doing, panhandling, whatever, trying to find a place to sleep, going to shelters, going to the place to eat, you have to walk. Mm-hmm. And they're crippled.
Yeah.
It cripples a guy up. So I'm trying to, the last couple of days I've been handing out plastic trash bags and socks as much as I can, you know, and then I'll pick a certain homeless person or two that I see has a more special need. You know, I just call them that they're challenged, right? Whatever the problem is, I leave it in one category that they're challenged, but some people are more challenged than others. So I kind of take them on as a special assignment, what I call assignment, and I look after them a little bit more than some of the rest. One of them is a girl. I don't want to say her name on the street, but she's might have, you know, mental health issues, and so she's struggling a little more than others. So I've been kind of looking out for her a little more than you know.
So what you need from people is socks, backpacks, clothes, and us out here, you know, we're always looking to find our way to be able to help as many people as we can. That's something that we've always prided ourselves on. That's something that's always been really big to us. And tomorrow, we get to have that opportunity to go hang out with you. And, you know, and that's just a start. I mean, I think what you've seen even out of the last 2 weeks, we put our mind to stuff, and that's what happens.
Oh, you guys move quick. You guys you've moved me so quickly in the last 2 weeks.
Get used to it, man. I mean, that's the start.
I'm like, every time I turn around, they're throwing something else on me, you know, and I'm like, wow, man, I only been here 2 weeks, and they put me in charge of the building with the welding equipment now. That's like my shop.
Yeah, resource management is one of our strong suits.
And, you know, obviously, we've got the 4 businesses out here. We've got the nonprofit going. We're looking at trying to help as many people as we can.
All right.
And one of those businesses we have out here is 2 Bravo Laser Design. We do custom tumblers and water bottles and all that stuff. And that's something I guarantee we can also help with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking about it with some of the ones that we have, bringing them down there, getting them some water bottles.
Insulated. Right now, you know, obviously it's hot outside. So, you know, they're stainless steel, which is antibacterial, if you're not aware, naturally.
Which is also huge.
And, especially for the homeless community, it's not going to be able to wash them all the time.
So we'll talk about that more after we hear from one of our companies, 2 Bravo Laser Design. We'll be right back. We're back to the True North Division podcast. We just got to hear from 2 Bravo Laser Design, which is awesome. Brian, our co-host on here, is also a business partner of everything that we've put together with all that stuff. We were just basically talking about who Marlon Perkins is, and we can't figure it out because Brian's not that bright. So we're going to have to Google it a little bit later.
That's true. We can do that, and then we can also teach you how to add an S on the end of 2 Bravo Laser Designs.
Isn't that what I said?
So you know.
2 Bravo Laser Designs?
No, not once today.
2 Bravo Laser Design?
Yeah, you're good at that.
We'll just have Zach edit it in there. He'll just throw in this like a random Z at the end of everyone. Why not? We got Guy Baird out here with us, who's got his awesome bus of delivered goodness to other homeless people. And we can't praise that enough, how much the world needs people like Guy. And that is a fact. I want you to know that out of anything that we've had in this conversation.
I thank you for that word very much.
Is how you have an opportunity that you've taken to make a difference. And us and who we are out here, we want to see that, you know, head over feet, be able to just crush it. If you haven't noticed, we're the type that says, okay, this is what we got. Gotcha. Now watch us run with it. Same thing with out here. True North, with 2 Bravo Laser Designs.
You know, like I was saying before, so many people helped me when I was homeless that, you know, I owe this. You know, I'm paying it forward.
We all owe, man.
You know, we all owe it. I'm paying it forward for all the people that helped me. I think if some of the people that didn't help me at the times that I needed help, I probably might be dead. You know, I've just got, you know, I was that bad.
Dude,
you know,
I want to tell my story real quick. My story with that, with where you just came from. And it's something that I've been talking a lot about in the leadership classes. So I was a Pittsburgh firefighter in Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh, Kansas. And when I was a firefighter there, we had a medical call. It was me and my partner were on the rescue truck. And we get a call for a lady that's having a hard time breathing. And we go out on the call and we go to help her. We get her all hooked up. Crawford County comes in, takes her away. We're thinking, oh, it's just cool. Call's done. Getting ready to pull back into the station. And I just happened to say to my partner, Zig, I was like, oh, man, I could tell it's going to be a busy day. And he hits me in the arm and he's like, oh, man, it's not going to be that. You don't say that stuff. Just as soon as I say it, dude, tones drop, another call. We get a call for a person versus vehicles, the way the call originally came in. So we go screaming over there. And then we get the call that it's that's not the case. It's something different. And we get there, and there's a vehicle that's up against this garage. So I hop out of the rescue truck, and I go running up there, and there's an older guy. There's an older guy that's standing up along the vehicle, and I move him out of the way, and I look in the driver's side, and there's this kid that's sitting in there, and he's blue. I mean, the kid's purple. He's gone. So I move Dad, from what I know, out of the way, and I open up the door, undo this kid's seatbelt, drag him out of the car, and I go right into chest compressions. I know this kid isn't breathing. I know his heart's stopped. So I'm giving him chest compressions. My partner is pulling out the AED machine, which is to do the shocks. Female officer, Miranda, she comes up. She's trying to get the BVM to give him air. And we go through 3 cycles of CPR with this kid. We shock him, all that stuff, and all of a sudden, and Crawford County's not there yet because they had 1 ambulance at the time, so they were up running that lady that had that call to the hospital, and it's just us out there, and we're out there, and this kid's purple, and we're giving him chest compressions, just going through the whole motions. Mom's out there, Dad's out there, the brothers are out there with their friends. Everybody's crying and screaming, and it's happening right out in the public. I've got sweat dripping from my nose, you know, like I know that it's going to be a challenge. And all of a sudden, this kid comes to. He's still unconscious, agitated breathing, but at least we get a pulse back. So we get the pulse back, and just then one of the emergency crew pulls up and our engine pulls up because the captain that was on at the time, Taylor, he knew something was up when we didn't get called back on the radio. So this kid gets loaded up, goes off to the hospital, and I ride back in the engine, and one of the other firefighters was like, did you know that kid? I said, no. He's like, no, I want you to think about it. Do you know that kid? No. He said, I want you to think back a couple of months ago when we had that call of the vehicle versus dude on a bike. And thinking back to that call, that was the same kid that was driving the truck that hit this guy on a bike, and this kid's just crying, just kind of losing his mind. And I shake this kid up, and I was like, dude, you haven't seen anything yet. You know, you got lucky with this. You got through it. Ain't a big deal. Suck it up. That's just my personality. Like, hey, you're going to see a lot worse in your life. And then fast forward 2 months, and here I am banging on this kid's chest. And long story short, get a visit from him. He ends up surviving. Doctor says, don't know how this kid survived, but he did. A couple months later, they're standing there in the battalion chief's office. He's crying. He's crying. His mom's crying. His dad's crying. And just so thankful. They're just thankful. They're like, we're going to do something with this. This kid, we gave him a second chance.
Right.
And when I tell my story, you know, I haven't had anyone banging on my chest in my life, but I've had a lot of people that have given me second chances like that.
Amen.
And it doesn't take someone banging on your chest to recognize that people are always helping you, that everything you do, you have an opportunity to change someone's life. And for me, that reality check was banging on this kid's chest. And for this kid, it was me banging on his chest. But I guarantee all of us have had that proverbial firefighter standing over us, giving us that second chance, and we need to do something with it.
You know, almost every couple of minutes of every day, we're all given an option of what we're going to decide to do. You know, stuff happens all the time, and we can choose to react certain ways, or we can choose to react this kind of way or that kind of way. And so we're given a lot of opportunities to try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I teach people this about, I'm a Christian, so I'll come at this from a Christian standpoint. God gives us opportunities to he just wants to see if we're willing to try to do the right thing. We're given opportunities all the time, every day. This guy could bump into me and I could get mad, or he could bump into me and I could say, hey man, everything's cool. We're just given small opportunities all day long, and I've been given second chances like you're talking about. And when I see somebody on the street, that's my opportunity to do something. I can either drive past the person, or I could stop and say, hey man, I got some water. I hand out water all the time, and I'll tell you what, people on the street, they're so grateful for water.
Yeah.
Water's a big thing.
Oh, yeah. And you never know when you have that opportunity to be that firefighter. And the idea is take every opportunity to be that second chance for somebody, to help someone out. And, when we're talking about substance abuse, like I know, Brian, I know you had input on the substance abuse issue and where we can go from here, because I know you've had experience through your career when you were in law enforcement and seeing this stuff. What do we do, man?
Yeah, when I was in law enforcement, I worked a lot with the homeless population. Mm-hmm. And, I had good relationships with a lot of them. And luckily, our community, really our law enforcement that we have local here, every winter, one of the big deals is, hey, go check the camps.
Yeah.
And we would foot patrol the camps just to make sure that these guys weren't freezing to death when those temperatures were that low. So it was always great that we had that side, and a lot of times, they don't see that. Some of that community, the homeless community, doesn't necessarily see all the things that the law enforcement is doing to help them, because there's so much negative interaction between the homeless population and law enforcement.
And then those stories go from A to
absolutely.
B to C to Z to next thing you know.
And when people have problems, someone sets up a homeless camp near their property, well, then the public's complaining, and, well, who does anything about it? It's law enforcement. So, but, one of the things I learned is to build that rapport with those guys. And when I built that rapport with them, I could go out, run into one of them, call them by name. They can call me by name. Hey, man, you're not supposed to be here. Told you last week. He's like, all right, man, I got you. And when you have that relationship, that's where the problems stop. So that somewhat helps it. One of the things I noticed a lot, though, is I want to hear from Guy on this to kind of get your opinion and what you have observed from being on that side of the fence. From my side of the fence, I helped a lot of people, and some of them got out of it. But the reoccurring community of homeless people, it seems like there's a mental issue with a lot of them. A lot of them have a mental health problem, and it seems like that's why they're in that rut. And, you're looking for answers, and that's the answers that I think that's the most important. The largest problem from my observation is the mental health portion. So I don't know what that answer is to solve that.
Well, there's a couple of churches in town, and they have free Christian counselors. Central Christian Church, guy named Doug Wilkerson. Years ago, he counseled me. Mm-hmm. And he's still down there every day, and the church hires him, pays him to he's got an office at the church, and you go down there, and all you got to do is knock on a door and say, I want to talk to somebody, I need to talk about stuff, and it's free. There's another church there, it's on the corner of Kentucky and 7th Street.
And that's right in Joplin.
It's right here in Joplin. They do Christian counseling, too. Every Sunday they have a service, and a lot of homeless people go there, and they feed them a big meal. Water Gardens. I want to give a shout-out to Water Gardens, Central Christian Church. Water Gardens is open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, all through the day. They can sit in there all day. They can take a shower. They can wash their clothes. They can receive their mail there. A homeless person has nowhere to receive mail. You know, if you're waiting on a food stamp card and you're homeless, where are you going to get it?
Yeah.
You have to have an address. Sometimes you can't get services if you don't have an address. A lot of these people don't have IDs. But I noticed that, you know, people think homeless people are drunks and drug addicts. That's not the greater case at all. There are mental health issues.
So with that, so if I were to be dealing with a subject who's having a mental health issue, what we would do, you know, if it's a suicidal subject, and for this example, we can take them in for a 96-hour mental evaluation. So they can be held for up to 96 hours to evaluate them and see what the problem is. So the problem typically is a chemical imbalance in the brain. So if you don't have the right chemicals in your brain, the right amounts, levels for each one, then that's when your mental health starts decreasing. So from your experience, so we could get those people in there. They get on the right meds. They're not suicidal anymore. They get off the meds. And the meds are just regulating chemicals. So they're not putting chemicals in the body. We're controlling how your body controls the chemicals that you already have.
Right.
So my question to you is, are there any organizations out there that are mentally evaluating them, checking their chemical levels, and then trying to provide medication to fix those issues?
That's a different issue. That's a medical issue in like places like Water Garden, or there's a guy named Daryl Long, Lazarus House, or House Inc. They have counselors, but they can't really address that kind of. That's more of a medical issue. So
sure. So with what you're saying and what I'm saying,
that tough part, dude. No, the thing, a big part of that with medication is when people have some of those mental issues and stuff, there's that part of the brain that says, I need this, so they'll stop taking their medication. So it's tough to almost realize that they're not going to keep taking that medication because they like getting to that point.
They go through cycles with medication is what I've come to understand. After a couple of months, those meds will stop having the same effect they were having, and so they have to go get a different med or a up dose or a change of meds. So with psych meds, they know how they work, but they don't really know how they work at the same time. It's kind of a guessing game, you know, and they know certain meds balance certain issues out, but at the same time, there's going to come a period when that cycle is over and that med's probably not going to work as well. So then you see they kind of go off, you know, and you probably seen mental health people that were fine for a while, and then you run into them and they're like whacking out, you know, and it's like, dude, you were fine for the last 2 months. It's just the cycle's over, and he has to get a different dose or a new kind of med, and they mix and match him, and it's kind of an experimental thing. At the same time, they know what they're doing, but they have to try different combinations to try to bring you back into reality again. And
so with what you're saying, you know, I say that a large problem is mental health, and you've pretty much agreed
that's the greater problem.
That is a greater problem. It's not my wheelhouse. I don't understand how that could work. So, you know, the first thought process I have is Water Garden is a great facility. They do some great things. We need to get a psychologist involved with them. I'm sure they have them already.
Yeah.
But, you know, at some level, if that's the biggest problem that we have, then it seems like that should be a target, and it could already be.
Dude, and I think another thing that
I'm excited to get a little more educated tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think another thing a facility like that needs, like we had Caleb Scott on here a couple of weeks ago talking about how important dietary stuff is.
Absolutely.
How tough is that from the homeless community because they don't have that good diet,
right?
And it gets mixed up. But they're showing more and more every day how
water.
Just water.
When you have chemical imbalances, you're not eating right, you're not drinking right, you're not hydrated right. It affects your chemical balances, and those are exactly some of the causes. And you might not be an alcoholic, but you might be sitting around on a homeless camp and they're passing a bottle around. You take a hit or two off the bottle, that changes your chemical balance. I mean, there's a lot of minuses going on there that cause people to slide out.
I agree. You know, and again, talking about one of the great veteran organizations that does help out with that is Compass Quest, and we're going to hear from them for our final commercial. But Guy, I wanted to thank you so much for coming out here. We're going to keep going into this, man. I know this is just a 1 hour podcast, but the more we can get this message out there, the more people can share this, and the more people that can subscribe and like every single podcast availability that's out there where you can listen to it, whether it's iHeartRadio or YouTube or Facebook, whatever. Share this message, spread it out there, so people can hear that there's opportunities. We're here for those opportunities. You like, share, and get the word out. Next thing you know, we're starting a revolution. You know, I talk about it here.
Right.
We're building a compound. We're building an empire out here to be able to help
I'm also
people.
on Facebook. It's called the Homeless Veterans Patriot Bus. If you want to go there, I got 2 sites. I got Guy Baird.
We'll put that link up there. We'll get
All right.
people directed towards that. But Guy, I want to thank you. Brian, I'm so glad I finally found you a home as my co-host, dude, and we're here.
Absolutely.
And sky's the limit. We're going to hear from Ted and Amy at Compass Quest and get people going in that direction.
I enjoyed
too.
this. I was nervous when he calls me up and he goes, "You're on 20 minutes." I'm like, "What?"
And we made it, man. So
What?
everybody out there in the True North Vision podcast community, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you all next time.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.